Hello, and welcome to Living Well with Teens. Today we have a really exciting show for you. I think it's exciting because we've got a hot topic, and that is it true that if you spot it, you've got it? So I'm here with Dr. Beth Halbert, America's teenologist, and I am Dr. Rhoberta Shaler, the relationship help doctor. So welcome, Dr. Beth.
Hello, Dr. Shaler.
So what's up, and what are you excited about today?
Oh my goodness. I just love having the opportunity to talk about teens and parents of teens and the possibilities of what we do with this hijackal concept that you talk about. So I love the dishing and the opportunity for us to play with different aspects of the teen experience. And this topic today is my favorite. One of my favorites anyway. It's mirror, mirror. If you spot it, you got it. And when we both landed on a little bit of an edge, I thought, woohoo, my inner teen got excited that we were going to get to play.
Yep, well, it's gonna happen, and I think that's all very exciting. I love how enthusiastic you are about working with teens because you have so many insights that people go, really? They never thought of that, and that's the exciting part. And what I'm all about is helping people with their relationships, their relationship with themselves, and with their relationship with the significant people in their life, and in particular my specialty is working with those hijackals. Let me explain what they are. I specialize in working with the partners, the exes, and the adult children and co-workers of chronically difficult people. And I call them hijackals. And my definition for that is a hijackals are people who hijack relationships while for their own purposes, while scavenging them relentlessly for power, status, and control. And I work with the partners and the coworkers and the adult children and the exes because those are the people who are having the most conflict within themselves about what has happened to them and what is happening to them. So when we talk about if you spot it, you got it, I'm pretty hot about that kind of thing. So I'm just going to put it out there. I don't believe it. And so I know, I know, yeah, I'm going to throw that one down. I don't believe it. And here's why. If you spot it, you got it. You're a therapist. I'm a therapist. I spot lots of things I don't have.
Yes.
And therefore, I say it isn't true. And I know you say differently. So what's up, Dr. Beth?
All right. So, first of all, I'm willing to be wrong about everything.
Yeah, good. I'm all over that today.
I folded very quickly. No, I'm just teasing. No, that is part of my process and part of my work with teens and with parents. I had a child last night that the mother heard the child say, "Get your blanking hands off my," and the mother said, "Don't you talk to me." And the child said, "I didn't say blanking. You're hearing things. You're hearing things." So I don't know if anybody's ever seen the TV show Brain Games. It shows how we can't trust our brains. We cannot trust them. They fill in lines. They fill in information. I've gone to a restaurant and I've ordered chicken. They brought me salmon. And I said, I ordered chicken. And everybody at the table said, no, you ordered salmon. And I'm like, okay, I'm willing to be wrong. I'm just willing to be wrong. I'm more into being in relationship than being right. And with these two, this mother and the son, I've got to bet that the mother was probably right. But I'm willing to be wrong about that too. Maybe she has a story that her son is constantly saying those words.
Mm-hmm.
So she's looking for that hearing it, sometimes filling in the blank, even when it's not even there.
Mm-hmm.
So where does that show up in Mirror Mirror? I had a woman one time take $20,000 from me. Now, I gladly wrote the check. I gave it to her. We had a signed agreement. And a month and a half in, she changed the agreement.
Oh.
I said, feel free to change the agreement. Please send me my $20,000 back. She said, I will not.
Ah.
So I went to a lawyer. The lawyer said, you can spend twice that trying to get your $20,000 back, and you can't get blood from a turnip. She obviously doesn't have it to give back to you. So I went to town, giving her the business, writing out, this is one of my processes. You're a B. You're a cheater, liar. I mean, I let my inner teenager go to town. Ripped her a new one. And then the second part of my process is to go within and see, where am I a B? Where am I a liar? Where am I a cheater? Where is that within me? And one of the ways I play with this, Dr. Shaler, is if I'm triggered, just because I see a bird and I spot a bird does not mean I am a bird. However, if I see something and I am, or someone says, something to me like, you blankety blank, 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 and I get triggered by it, versus somebody says, you blankety blank, 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 and I go, yeah, I get it. That's a difference. That's the difference. And if I'm triggered, there is something in me that is feeling the same blankety blank, blank, blank right back. But if they say to me, you blankety blank, and I go, yeah, I get you're really angry with me. That's my distinction. Back at you.
Okay, well, I'm having flashbacks to my youngest child.
To who?
My youngest child. I raised my kids by myself, and here's the flashback. My son is 6'5", and really likes to let you know how big he is. And at that time, when he was a teenager, he did what so many teenagers do, which I've certainly learned from being in this field of work for so long. And I would say, Paul, no, you can't do that. And he would say, don't yell at me.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So,
yes.
In support of what you're saying.
Thank you.
Somebody said, when he would say that to me, and I knew very well I wasn't yelling.
Right.
He was responding to my intensity, my pace, my volume. But he only heard volume, which wasn't there, but he heard the answer he didn't want to hear. So that to him was me yelling at him. And I used to say to him, if I were saying yes to you instead of no to you, would I still be yelling?
What'd he say?
Well, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
He's too smart. He was too smart for that one.
Yeah, I think your distinction holds, but I think, where it came from me and why I'm so vociferously against this throwing it around is there's a big seminar system out there in the world that throws around slogans like this. And then people go around saying, you say, well, I don't care much for that. And they'll say, well, if you spot it, you got it. And, I'm so fed up with that kind of crap.
Yes,
because it's so uninformed, and so many people go to these seminars and pay thousands of dollars for them. They hear a lot of great things that could change their life, but they pick up a phrase like that and they go applying it to everybody else as though they're superior.
Yes.
And I just respond to that very negatively, in case you can't tell.
And may I?
Yeah.
And how appropriate is it that they are the ones doing it?
Perfect. Yes. I mean, talk about a mirror.
Exactly. Exactly.
But you know, it's a bit like that kid on the oatmeal box who's, you know, and you keep seeing the oatmeal box and the oatmeal box and the oatmeal box is the kid on the oatmeal box seeing the kid on the oatmeal box, you know,
Okay.
it's just back at you all the time there. And I just am opposed to tarring everybody with the same brush. Instead of doing what you're talking about, is seeing it as your own reflection
Yeah.
and saying, okay, somebody's saying something about me that they see. Maybe I could say, my favorite phrase that I give people in relationship work all the time is take a little space and say, you could be right.
I love that.
Right? Because I'm not saying you are right. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying I'm going to give the space for further conversation because you could be right.
And
At
I'm
the moment, I don't really think you are, but you could be right.
right.
Let me get into a little inquiry.
And my twist of the same thing is I may be wrong. I am so willing to be wrong about this. I'm willing to look at it. And when I use the mirror, I'm very, very careful to say, if you use this on someone else, you might get shot.
Or shocked.
Or shocked. Or you may get a mirror back that you do not like. And the other twist of mirror that I think is so underrated is the positive side. And this is where I really highlight mirror. So if I see you, and you know, many years ago when I met you, I was so enamored and in awe, and you are one of my mentors, and just you know, the fact that you've already done a musical, I'm so inspired for kids. That is my mirror. I think I love the mirror of you. I love my mirror in you. I love what I see in you, and I own it. And so it lets me know that if I see it and I lift you up, that it gives me the opportunity to know that I may have that inside me as well.
Yes, well said, and thank you for that. I just want to add, for those of you who have joined us, if you have questions or a comment or whatever, feel free to put them down in the chat window in the bottom right of your screen. We'd love to answer your questions or hear your comments or reflections on what we're talking about. This is an open opportunity to
Cast a vote.
Thinking. Pardon?
Cast a vote. Pro or con for mirror if you spot it.
And also know that on those little hands at the bottom right of each of our photographs on your screen, that's to give props. So if you click on those hands, you're saying, yeah, I really like that when one of us is speaking. And then we know that you're into it too, because we can see who did that. So yeah, feel free to join in, and welcome. We have a new person joining us. So okay, so I just want to play again a little bit with this concept. So we're talking about openness, right? We're talking about being healthy enough to open the conversation to all possibilities. When someone is telling us what they think of us or what they see in us, or they're reflecting back to us, we're talking about being open enough to take that in, to not be defensive, to not have preconceived ideas, but to say, oh, new information perhaps, you know?
Yes.
And okay, great. So talk about that, because this is hot for you.
Okay, so I have an example that tells on myself. I was working with a relationship coach one time, and I was talking about my partner, and I said, you know, this behavior, and you would definitely call it hijackal behavior. This behavior is not appropriate. This is just not respectful. I probably was feeling this, but said it much more casually in my professional Dr. Beth ease. You know, this is not appropriate behavior. But on the inside, I was feeling, you know, it is just not okay to cuss. It's not okay to yell. It's not okay to argue in this manner. It's not okay, blah, 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 blah. This is just not okay. My little 7-year-old was in the house. my perfectionist. And this coach said to me, this is a mirror of the rage that is in you. Took me quite a while to swallow that one. Over the last few years, I have found that rage. And I have found those big feelings that my whole life, I've never been able to express fully because it's politically incorrect. It's not the way you're supposed to talk to people. Now, I've also gone through that and gone to the other side of it because that's not who I want to be. Yet, I also found that in me. I mean, I did have some anger that I hadn't expressed with about my mom. Mm-hmm. I went to a workshop, a healing workshop 30 years ago, and they were asking me to talk about my mom and my dad. I couldn't talk about them. I loved them too much. I protected them too much. I was too much of a good girl. Mm. So same thing with one time I came out of church, and never in my life, I was probably 17 years old, and never in my life had I said a cuss word. I was the only child in the entire high school that did not inhale. And I'm telling you the truth. I mean, everybody in the high school was doing it. And one day after church, this friend and I gave ourselves permission to go around the house cussing after church. And we said every blasphemous, horrible word that we could think of as loud as we could. It was one of the most fun moments of my life, giving myself permission to fully express. Third example and final, had a girlfriend who was completely against having an abortion. I mean, she was so screaming it from the rafters. You just don't do it. Ba, 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 ba. When she was 30 something, she got pregnant. There was no way she just didn't know how she could do it. And she chose to have an abortion. Mm-hmm. So I'm not attached to you spot it, you got it. I play with the possibility that if you look for it, you might have an opening to completely transform your life.
And I would add to that, that you might find that you have a resonance for it. Even though you may not have it, you have a compassion and a resonance for it, or an opening to think about it. See, you're winning me over in one way of looking at it. If you spot it, you got it. As a general thing, going around and saying that to folks, no, we won't change my mind on that. But, I'm understanding differently how you see it. And so I have an opening for that. And so when
I, by the way, completely agree with you. Completely agree. This is a tool that, if used callously, can be very hurtful and damaging.
And it's also very judgmental.
What?
Very judgmental.
Yes.
Like, I'm superior to you. So, hey, you don't like that person and you think that they're a bitch. Well, if you spot it, you got it. Therefore, you're a bitch. And no, I mean, that's not the case. And if you just feel superior and on top of things and so much better than I am, well, good for you. Go right ahead. It's fine with me. Yeah. So I've just held up the URLs if you want to talk with Dr. Beth more, learn more about her book, or download her free ebook, Embracing Defiance. For sure, go to drbeth.com. And if you want to get my free ebook on my concept of hijackals, remember they are people who hijack relationships for their own purposes while relentlessly scavenging them for power, status, and control, you can go there to hijackals.com. Hijack, ALS, so combining hijack with jackals. Um, I think it's a really interesting topic, and I think that we're also developing the idea that the way something hits one person is not the way it hits another. When I hear you, if you spot it, you got it, I go, oh, I know you've taken that seminar, and, and I know all you're doing is going around uh, showing that you took in the information. And what I call that is it's still sitting above your nose. It never made it down to your toes. If you integrated that idea the way you're discussing it, then you would be able to give voice to it in a way that was informed, and it was coming from a place of understanding or creating understanding. When you use it as a label and a tool for putting people down or putting them in your place, whole other matter. So I'm going to stop for a minute and read this question from Glenn here. He said, my fiance is a single mom and has a 17-year-old daughter who curses nonstop around her mom. Oh, lovely. It's F this, F that, oh my effing God, etc. My fiance uses a very hands-off approach and allows her daughter to express herself with little correction. Is there anything I can do to help my girlfriend's daughter respect her mother and me more by not speaking to us like we're her high school friends? And I pity her high school friends if that's the way she talks to them. What do you say, Dr. Beth?
And I bet she doesn't talk to her high school friends like that. That's my bet. So this is my love. You just like brought up the question du jour for me. And the book is Embracing Defiance. And if you just hear the title, then it can trigger that response. And I love your question. The subtitle is let's see, embracing right, helping your child express their unique voice while keeping your sanity. So the part about keeping your sanity, I tell parents, you are the candy. You are the candy to your child. I know you don't feel like that. I know you may not believe that in the moment. No one ever believes me, but I will stake my right arm on this is the fact. You are the love of your child's life. And they're trying to figure out how to leave you. And one of the ways they're doing that is they're pushing you away. So how do you change their behavior? I just came up with this new saying, if you tell, I must rebel. So if you tell me to stop using the F word, I must use it. F, 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 F. However, if you show, I'll let it go. So if you show me by not engaging, by modeling, mirror, mirror, by being what you want the child to live into, talking respectfully back. And here's the way you keep your sanity. Here's one option to keep your sanity. When they start using the F word, you could be playful and go, no, I'm melting. And it's going to embarrass her with her friends. It's going to change the state. Another way you could do it is say, I cannot be a part of this. I'm going to leave until the F-bombs have ceased. This is hurting my heart. But something that's more playful and light. Because they're doing it to get a reaction. And they're doing it to be fully expressed. How's that? What do you think about that?
I think that's great. And if we want to put it in psychological language, they're doing it to individuate. I'm different than you. See how different I am than you. Yes. And I was raised by a hijackal mother. That's why I spend my time helping people understand what happened to them and what is happening to them. And the one way that I could get her, Glenn, and it was just so wonderful, and I figured it out when I was about 13 or 14, because back then we didn't quite mature as early as we do now. And I would just look at her and I would use the F word in any conversation that I could, in any context that I could. And she would go off like a Roman candle, and I got some power because she just saw all shades of red.
Yes.
So when you're individuating, you want some power. You want to be seen as separate. And what you're saying just makes so much sense. And Glenn says, I think that's good advice. Well, we've been doing this for a really long time, Glenn, and I absolutely applaud you for having a fiance with a 17-year-old because not only do you have the mother to love, but you've got a whole family situation there, and you're in at the deep end right now with the F-bombs. So
And the thing that the mama needs more than anything, bless her baby heart, women get triggered by their daughters individuating, and men get especially triggered by their sons individuating because it's a part of them. Again, the mirror, mirror. I see in my young daughter a reflection of me. And when she doesn't measure up to what I want her to be, dang, I'm a poet.
yeah, and Glenn just added this question. He said, "Am I saying that I use the F word back at my daughter to show how it looks?" No, 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 no.
And maybe.
But it's not that I'm a saint, and it's not that I never use that word. And so we had to talk about it actually. And it wasn't my daughter that I was using in that example. It was my mother, my hijackal mother, my borderline personality disorder mother. But for my daughter, we just talked about it because I had had that experience of using it for shock value and feeling like I was showing her up. So my daughter and I had a conversation around that at that time. I said, well, I know this one. I know this whole thing here. I used to use it too. So can't we find another way? Because this could be not so great.
And what, Dr. Shaler, I actually use this mirror with someone that is a borderline to help them become more reflective.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I don't use the mirror, mirror to hurt someone. And I don't get them to use the mirror, mirror to hurt someone. In fact, I go to extreme measures to not hurt. Instead, I entertain the possibility. So like if you've got a mother that is seeing this child, or like me, that was being so judgmental about my partner at the time, and this coach helped me find my own rage. I was doing things by withholding my love that was creating part of the rage in the experience.
Right.
And if you look for also the mirror, mirror in anything and everything, just as a game, not as a truth, not as the reality, but as a
possibility.
As a possibility. When you look at it, you're seeing where could this be within me? Like if I say, you're being rude, you're being disrespectful. Where am I disrespecting myself by staying in the room when somebody's F-bombing me?
Yeah. Yeah. And we have to model what we want our kids to become as well. I often say to parents, like, children will often fail to do what you tell them, but they seldom fail to do what you do. Right. And so we need to have that in our mind too. Yeah, exactly. See, she's winning me over moment by moment. So Glenn asked another question. My fiance's daughter and I have an up and down relationship. Not unexpected because you've snuck in and intervened in the relationship that they had. How can I approach this with my fiance and her daughter? Well, first of all, acknowledge. Pardon?
Get ready for a ride.
Yeah, well, first of all, acknowledge to them both enough times that you recognize that you're the newcomer and that they have a very special bond, and make sure they have lots of time to spend together so that you haven't ripped her mother away from her. And over to you, Dr. Beth. You're the teenologist.
Well, I would love to be able to talk and hear your facial expression, Glenn. I'm not sure if the up and down is between you and your fiance, or if the up and down is between your fiance and her daughter, or if the up and down is between you and the daughter. And my guess is it's probably all of the above. And if that is the case, My greatest advice is to get it out of significance and get it out of seriousness and bring it back to some playful fun. What you fell in love with your fiance about, what you have fun with her. And don't let the teenager be the rift between the two of you. Take care of yourself first. If it gets too hot, go play. Go take care of yourself first. Take care of your relationship second. And when you have a solid bond and a solid connection and you're locking arms and holding hands, then you can come with love to the teenager that's having hormonal crazies, that's scared to death to leave the home, and all the other big feelings that are going on.
Yeah, and one of the things that might come up, just to add on to that, Glenn, is that that daughter may say, well, I can't stand to be here anymore because, I've been displaced and replaced. And that's why I said, be sure to be reassuring about the bond, and you're not there to intervene in the bond. You're there to add to the joy. And so important. Wow, we've had lots of discussion, and thanks for your questions, Glenn. And thank you, everybody, for being here. We're here every week on Thursdays at 11 a.m. So if you subscribe to our blab, you will get a notice when we're up and running, and we'll tell you all about it. So I hope that you will do that. And if you have further questions, remember that you can go to drbeth.com and you can find a way to interact with her. And certainly come over and visit me either at forrelationshiphelp.com, which is my general website, or if you're dealing with a chronically difficult person that I call a hijackal, that's my specialty. And you can look at my new ebook on Amazon. It's the first in an ebook series. Let me make that clear. The series is called Escaping the Hijackal Trap, the definitive guide to dealing with chronically difficult people. And volume 1 is out. It helps you identify and recognize hijackals. And volume 1 is called The Truth About Hijackals and Why They're Crazy Making. And remember that when you go over to Dr. Beth's, you can download her free book, Embracing Defiance. And she's already told you why it's a valuable book. So join us again. And thanks. I'm glad that you were here and that you've enjoyed it, Glenn. I look forward to seeing you on my newsletter list and over at Dr. Beth's, getting the great wisdom that she has. And you see, you never know what you think till you talk it out. If you got it, you got it. True or not, we've made some shifts today. I hope you did too.
And Dr. Shaler, I loved having the conversation with you. Just want to reiterate, any and all of these tools that we talk about, if they're ever used in a mean and hurtful and vicious and hijackal way, they won't work. If they're used from love and compassion and playfulness, the sky is the limit. And I have a group that is virtual that is called Power Parenting. And specifically, we deal with all sorts of these answers, all sorts of these teen challenges. And what I'd like to say to all the parents of teens is you're not alone. And when you had that support when they were 0 to 3 and you didn't know how to change a diaper, you need 10 times that support now that they're a teenager. This is what it's all about. So thanks again, Dr. Shaler. Love, love, love playing with you.
Yeah, it's great fun, Dr. Beth, and we'll have a wonderful conversation for you next week. So I hope you'll subscribe, and we'll talk with you then. Bring your questions, even if they're off topic. Bring your questions. So glad that you asked yours, Glenn.
Yes, and, thank you.
Nice to meet you, Michelle, and everyone else who's on the call. I hope you got great value by listening in. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.